This is the perfect time for you to become a game developer. Honestly, there hasn't been a better time. The more you browse Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, whatnot, you'll see people saying things that point to the contrary though. But I'm here to share stories with you today. Some are my own, some are from people with far more success who have achieved a lot more than I have. But my goal with this video today is to just share a bit of energy. Share a bit of positivity, encourage you, show you that you should be developing games, because I truly believe that you should be. And to show you all the wonderful shit that you can achieve that is right in front of you, because it is definitely possible. When you're watching or listening to this, I just want to set one rule. Just please remember that nothing that you do is wrong. There's no right way. And I think that's a way of thinking that we've actually lost. You know, if you go on YouTube or you go on Twitter, Twitch, even LinkedIn these days, you'll see, you know, like influencers telling us the best way to do things, the best way to achieve our goals. We don't really do what feels right. We've got sort of hyper fixated on getting to our end destination the fastest way possible. And you might want to start game development. Maybe you want to explore that idea that you've had in your head for ages, or maybe you've already started and you want to finish that game that you've been working on. And you can, and I think that you should. Let me tell you why, okay? You are the only person who can do it. There is literally no other game developer on the planet like you. And I'm not saying this to sound like your aunt on Facebook who, you know, shares the picture with a quote, "There's nobody like you, with like a beach as the background image." I'm not saying it to sound like that at all, okay? The games that you've played, the life that you've lived, and your ideas and your interests, they all make you a one-of-a-kind game developer. Therefore, the game, or the idea, or the project that you have is also one of a kind. You know, for me, growing up, World of Warcraft was my favourite game, but tycoon games and management games, they were my favourite genre type of game. So it's a bit of a weird mix, I know. And that's why the game that I'm developing, actually, that I've been working on in Unity today, the game that I'm developing right now is like a 50-50 blend of World of Warcraft for the fantasy RPG themes and tycoon management games. I know you'll have a similar idea, you know, where you sit and you think about it and you go, shit man, like, why is nobody making this? Or maybe you play your favourite game or a game that you enjoy and you think this would be so much better if it had X or Y. I told a story on one of my last videos about Majesty. It's a game that I love. I revisit it regularly, but I always end up frustrated at it because I just want a little bit more. I want more depth, I want more replay value, and you know, that's led me to having Unity opened with the project that I'm working on right now. Listen, I know it's hard to get started, but I think it's also incredibly easy as well. And what do I mean like that? The hardest bit is actually getting started, but once you do it and you pick up small victories, you've got this feeling of like, oh shit, you know, I made that. And then you want to achieve that more, you want more of that feeling. I heard someone say one time, I think it was Thomas Brush that said this actually, he said that inspiration and motivation is like pushing a boulder. You know, sometimes we think we need to get inspiration from outside sources, but really you don't actually get inspired or motivated until you start giving yourself a bit of inspiration and motivation. So the pushing a boulder analogy is like saying, you know, you need to start pushing it a little bit by yourself, but the more you push it, the more the speed builds up, the more momentum you've got and the easier it is to push. And that always stuck with me. I heard that years ago, and like I said, I do believe it was Thomas Brush. I probably told that really shitty, but I hope you get the idea. You know, you might be waiting for the perfect moment to start game development. You know, maybe you're tired today, you've had a tough day at work, or life is really busy. I get it, you know, with the perfect moment will never come. That's why I think you should get started today. You know, life is complex. You'll have stuff to do, you'll have shit going on, even right now. But the small wins will get you there and they'll keep you invested. You know, you could make your goal for one night to install Unity so it's ready for you next time. Or if you've got a project already, add one small feature or a new enemy type or a new graphic or just something to start pushing that boulder and building a little bit of momentum. Another thing is that something that I love doing actually is looking at other creatives out there who have their growth on record. There's different YouTube channels in particular that showcase this. I love this. It's a brilliant idea. It gives me so much motivation because it shows that the people we sometimes put on a pedestal of being the epitome of success felt the way that we do, you know. Let me show you a couple of examples here. So I'm pretty sure we all know who Thin Matrix is. If you don't, Thin Matrix is a game developer. He does some crazy shit. He develops his own engine in Java. I think it's still in Java. It's irrelevant. But he made a really successful game called Equilinox. But before that, he tried to make an MMO called Sokuban. And all these videos are still online, so you can go and you can view them. And I actually, let's pause that. I actually really recommend that you do go and watch them because, again, it just shows you that this guy, you know, 233k subs on YouTube. Sometimes I can be guilty of looking at this guy and going, oh, big shot YouTuber, got his shit sorted out. You look back at these videos from 8 years ago, and he's got a really good video actually where he launches a Kickstarter for his MMO. It doesn't get funded, and it's emotional because you can hear his voice crackling a wee bit. You can tell he is absolutely heartbroken that it hasn't got funded. But I bet you now, after all the games he's developed and all the projects that he's launched, he looks back at that and he goes, I'm glad I did that stuff. I'm glad I did that shit and failed. Another YouTuber is Josh Strife. He's one of my favourite YouTubers. If you are a fan of MMOs, you might know who this guy is. If you're not, then maybe you don't know who he is, but he is an MMO YouTuber. He got really famous for a series called Worst MMO Ever, where he goes and he looks at MMORPGs that typically appear as like banner ads, really shitty, low quality ones, and he plays them. But before that, he had a lot of other videos, and he has said that he's never going to remove a video from YouTube, which is commendable, you know, over quite a time span. But he has got The Life of Strife, which is a brilliant series, and I'll mute that again. But if you are ever looking for, this made me get my shit together a few months ago. If you are ever looking to get insight into somebody else's routine as someone who is creative, who is striving to achieve certain creative goals, his was to become an actor and become a YouTuber. At the time he was doing Let's Plays of Tomb Raider and Dead Space. He doesn't do anything like that now, but he's got nearly 1 million subs. But back then, during these videos, I don't even think he had 500 subs. Definitely worth checking out. That's something that I do sometimes. I look at people that I look up to, people who have achieved a great deal of success, and see if I can look into videos or glimpses of their life before that success, maybe draw some parallels. And it just, when we work alone, you know, I work in my studio alone, sometimes we miss a little bit of that connection, don't we? We feel like we're up against the world, but just know that you're not. You know, there's plenty of people out there that share your passion. Somebody else left a really good comment on this video of mine, and I was looking for it there, and I can't find it for the life of me, so apologies whoever you are if you're watching this. But they pointed out that the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's actually, just before releasing Five Nights at Freddy's, released a game called Fart Hotel. It's a game that I had never heard of before, but I did look down the developer of Five Nights at Freddy's Wikipedia, and if you want, again, insight into the struggles of being a game developer and what humanises us game developers and why I believe you should start, this guy had a portfolio of games. He has got a shitload of games released before Five Nights at Freddy's was obviously his big hit, but it took him long for that success. It is very, very inspirational. If you look at these three guys, 100% you'll feel a bit of that fire lighting up inside of you. I'm talking about it just now, and I'm like, oh shit, let's open Unity back up. So let's open Unity back up here, and I'll continue on my ramble. I truly believe today is the best time for you to get started. And why? Why is now the best time? Well, let's list off a few reasons, okay? There is an endless amount of tools available, you know, from engines assets, marketplaces, tutorials. There's AI programs like ChatGPT who can help you learn by pair programming. There's tutorials and guides everywhere. There's a million ways to distribute your game, be it through Steam if you don't want to go through Steam initially, itch.io, but there's tons of other marketplaces. There is loads of ways for you to make friends who share your passion. Share your passion for game development or some aspect of game development. You got Discord, you got Twitter, YouTube, loads of ways to make connections, make friends, you know. And finally, actually, there's loads of ways for you to monetize your game, be it through, you know, selling it, Patreon, Twitch, YouTube, ads, if you do like a mobile game or a browser game. And please, okay, if you ever see somebody or hear somebody saying, well, that doesn't work now, like if you take yourself to Reddit, you will see someone saying, don't do that, doesn't work now. You definitely hear it. If you hear that, just remember, if there's somebody out there doing it and it works for them, then it can work for you, okay? There's nothing that makes other successful people special where you aren't. You can achieve that stuff as well. Usually when you hear somebody saying, oh, that doesn't work now, when there's people out there that are still finding success through it, it's typically them projecting, I don't think that works, or I don't have the motivation to figure out if that works, or I tried that and I failed, but it doesn't mean it won't work for you. And in fact, here's something that's helped me out a lot recently. Maybe this can help you as well. It's writing down my values and my goals so that they're visible in front of me. And I used to have loads of sticky notes in front of my monitors there so I could see them all. I've taken them down now, but I do keep a notepad next to me every day so I can write down what I value, what my goals are. And just this helps me to avoid going off on tangents with projects and so I don't lose my way. So here's a little exercise for you, right? Let's play a game. This is about game development, so let's play a game here, okay? Think about that game that you want to make, or if you're already working on one, think about that game and get a good image of it in your head. Imagine your friends playing it. Imagine how the Steam page might look, or how the box art might look. Imagine how the game looks when it's fully complete and people are playing it. Imagine people talking about it on the internet, reviewing it on YouTube. And while you do that, get a good image of it in your head. But ask yourself, why do I want to make this? And that is a question that only you can answer. But if you've got a pen and paper nearby, write down why you are making the game that you're making, or why you want to make the game that you want to make. Why am I making this game? Why do I want to make this game? And when you do that, you'll find out what you value. You might find it a lot easier to get started, or to find the motivation to continue working on your project when you actually consciously realise why you're doing it in the first place. And again, that is something that has helped me a lot. Because for me, when I think about the game that I'm working on, which if you're watching, you'll see the wee guys wandering about while I ramble about game development here. If you're not watching, you're not missing out on anything. When I'm making this and I look at this just now and I envision the future of it, I see a more in-depth Majesty experience, and I want to come up with, you know, like wacky RPG classes and races, because I grew up loving World of Warcraft. And 100% you can make games, and you might not be ready to make the game that you dream about playing. Like if you have never opened up a game engine before, but your dream game is like Call of Duty on Mars, let's just say, first thing that came into my head. Like, fair enough, it might be a bit tough, but let's break it down, okay? First person shooter, okay? Can you get a first person camera moving about an empty world? I'm pretty sure you can. Even if you've never opened Unity or Unreal Engine before, there's tons and tons of tutorials, because loads of people want to make a first person shooter. Can you add shooting? You probably can. Tons of tutorials. Can you add jumping? You probably can. Once you've figured out the first two, you'll probably be able to figure out how to add jumping. Can you create a mesh in Blender and import it and use it as like a terrain to run across? Again, loads of resources. Can you add an enemy or an object that once you shoot it, it dies or it disappears or it blows up? You could probably figure out how to do that again using tutorials, using resources online. That is all achievable. I wouldn't recommend doing Call of Duty on Mars as a first project, but if you did all that stuff and you break it down and you componentize it like I just said, you've already learned a shitload of stuff. It might just get that, juice out of your system where you go, okay, I've learned now that this is going to be a hard project to undertake. I'm ready to dial it back a bit. Or you might go, this is brilliant, I'm going to keep going. And that's the great thing about game development or any other creative passion, is you can do it your own way. And, one of my other videos, for example, I mentioned that one of the main reasons that my Winterbringers project died was because I didn't create a game design document. And a lot of the comments in that video were pointing out that you don't need a game design document in order to make a game, and they're right, they're correct. Some of them also gave me examples of very, very successful games which didn't use a game design document, and that is great, and I loved getting that feedback, loved getting those comments, and it's amazing to see what works for some people and what works for others. Because I know for myself, if I don't create a game design document and I don't hard outline what this game is and why I'm building it, 100% I will start deviating away from the original plan, and that's why I need it down on a document so that I don't do that. And to get back to my original point, as you go about your game development journey, you try out different things, you'll start figuring out what works for you, and what works for other people might not work for you, but you'll find your own best methods of working. If you're following a tutorial or a series or a course and something doesn't feel enjoyable, when you feel like you have to force yourself to do it, then stop doing it. That's not failing or giving up. Maybe see the tutorial series through, but if there's something that you don't like about the process once you're complete or once you're done, just drop it, because the great part is only you have the secrets and the hacks to doing your own best work. You're not failing if you drop a method that somebody else told you to use. That might be their secret and their hack. But if you feel like you're forcing yourself to do it in a certain way, you're eventually going to stop anyway, because it's going to get less enjoyable. You're going to lose interest more and more, and then one day you'll go, I'm not doing this shit anymore. You will work to your own greatest potential when you enjoy the process and you feel energized at the thought of working on your project. So that's what I would do. Just keep it fun. Cut the shit out you don't enjoy. Don't feel guilt for doing that as well. This is your project that only you can make, And to show you, okay, let's see if I can find this. Right, I've found a picture of it, right? The EXE's gubbed, so I can't run the game. I think I've gubbed it. I don't think I'll be able to run the game again. Hopefully I can find more screenshots or something. This was the first Unity game that I ever made, and this was, we started working on it in 2014, we completed it in 2015. This was the first Unity game that I made, and it was an in-management game. So again, like, if somebody came to me and they said, we've never made a game before, I want to make an in-management game, how do I do it? I think most tutors out there or most game developers would say, well, start with roll the ball, or start with a point and click, or start with something simple, make Space Invaders or something. But I will tell you, if you want to make a complex as hell game, do it. But make sure you componentize it, like I said with the shooter. When I set out to make this, I didn't say, I'm going to create Restaurant Empire was one of them, or, you know, I'm going to create my favourite tycoon game. I just said, okay, can I get the characters to spawn at this door randomly? And then can I get a button which here, hire bar worker, which when you click it, it checks if you've got a slot open at the bar, because there's like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 slots here. And they were just like, I think they were hidden sprites actually. They were just game objects with like a sprite on them, so that I could figure out where they actually were if I decided to show them. And then it would check if one was open when you clicked the button. It would take the gold off you. So like things like that, when you press the button, take gold off you, they would randomly select a behaviour. So they would either go and sit in a chair, or they would go to the bar. If a bar worker was free, then they would go out, and it was just like there was no pathfinding or nothing. It was just like, appear here, move towards bar, wait, then you would add the gold, then you would leave, and then there'd be the chance as they left to leave dirt, which is like these wee kind of darker spots here was like the dirt, and you can see up here dirt status pig's garden, and that was just like count how many dirt sprites are in the scene, and then if it's this many, make it this status, if it's this many, make it this status, that sort of shit. So it was all about breaking it down, and you'll find with any game project that you work on, it's all going to be about breaking it down. But I'm not going to say to you, if you're going to learn game development, go and pick a very simple basic tutorial or game type to make, because like I said, there's no wrong way for you to do this. I would say that if there is a wrong way, it's making it unenjoyable for you. Do something that's going to keep you motivated. Do something that you're going to look at the computer and go, oh, I can't wait to work on that. That's how I felt with this project. If following the Unity tutorial for making Space Invaders isn't going to excite you, then what makes you think you're going to get better over time? You know, because you're not really going to be taking interest. It's going to be like that class in school where you're not really interested, but you're there because you need to be. At the same time, if you just want to learn game development, but you're not really sure what kind of game you want to make, then just try out loads of different tutorials, loads of different game types. But if you want to learn game development because you have got an idea in your head that is eating you alive, and you just want to learn how to make it, just break it down. Break it down to the bare bones. Do a wee bit by bit, and you'll feel great. So you will. It is the best feeling in the world. Oh, I love making games. Anyway, I'm going to put this rant to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting it out my system, but you can do this, okay? There's no right, and there's definitely no wrong. Follow your game development dreams. Live the dream, guys. Keep going. Keep at it. I'll see you next time.